The Other's Diary. Introduction. In 2025, Daniel moved into a cheap apartment in a crumbling city building, seeking a fresh start. Behind a loose wall panel, he found a tattered diary, its pages filled with frantic, jagged handwriting, ramblings of fear, dreams, and paranoia, as if its writer was unraveling. At first, Daniel read it with pity, seeing it as a stranger's tragedy, a relic of a broken mind. But then he noticed the dates. Some matched today's, others reached into tomorrow. Predicting events yet to unfold, unease crept in as his own fears echoed the diary's words. His dreams mirrored its visions. Night by night, he felt less like himself, as if another mind was seeping into his. The diary's last page was blank, waiting. And one night, pen in hand, he began to write, unsure who was guiding his words. A story of a man losing himself to something already written. Chapter 1. The Find. A damp October evening in 2025 clung to the city, the kind of gray chill that sank into bones and buildings alike. Daniel, 32, stood in his new apartment, a third-floor walk-up in a sagging brick complex that smelled of mildew and time. The place was a steal, peeling paint, creaky floors, windows that rattled in their frames, but it was his, a clean break from a life he wanted to forget. Boxes sat unopened, stacked against walls stained by years of neglect, and the faint hum of a radiator buzzed in the corner, doing little to warm the space. He'd been poking around, testing the place's quirks, when he found it, a loose panel, in the bedroom wall, hidden behind a chipped headboard. Curiosity tugged at him, and with a nudge, the panel popped free, revealing a hollow space and a small battered notebook, its cover frayed, pages curling like dead leaves. He picked it up, dust smudging his fingers, and flipped it open, expecting old receipts or forgotten sketches, not words that would sink into him like hooks. The handwriting was a mess, jagged, uneven, spilling across the pages in short, frantic bursts, as if the writer couldn't keep up with their own thoughts. October 3rd, it's in the walls, I hear it at night. One entry read, followed by, dreams again, red eyes, no face, it knows my name. Daniel frowned, a chill prickling his neck, but he kept reading, drawn in by the raw panic in the words, fear of shadows, of sleep, of losing control. Dates jumped around, some from years ago, others recent like yesterday, October 10th, 2025, describing a flickering street lamp outside, the exact one he'd noticed moving in. He shook it off, telling himself it was coincidence. Just a sad story of someone cracking under loneliness, maybe madness. But as he read on, unease grew. The writer's fears felt too vivid, too close, like whispers of something he hadn't yet faced. That night, he dreamed of red eyes in the dark, waking with a start, heart pounding, the diary still open on his nightstand. He shoved it back behind the panel, wanting it gone, but its words lingered, a quiet hum in his mind, a night bending into questions he couldn't shake, the find marking him in ways he didn't yet see. Chapter 2. The Echoes. A gray October morning in 2025 draped the apartment in a heavy quiet, the city outside muffled by fog that pressed against the windows. Daniel sat at a wobbly kitchen table, coffee cooling in a chipped mug, his eyes fixed on the bedroom wall where he'd hidden the diary the night before. Its words clung to him, those jagged scribbles of fear, of red-eyed dreams, of a life fraying at the edges. And though he'd tried to dismiss it as some lost soul's ramblings, the coincidence of that October 10th entry gnawed at him. Street lamp flickers, buzzes loud, it's watching, it had said. And last night, he'd lain awake, listening to that same lamp hum outside, its light stuttering through the curtains. He rubbed his temples, telling himself it was nothing, just an old building and a tired mind. But the dream, those red eyes, unblinking, knowing, felt like it had followed him into the day, a shadow he couldn't shake. He hadn't touched the diary since shoving it away, but it called to him, a pull he couldn't explain, like a thread tugging at his thoughts. By noon, he gave in, prying the panel loose again, the diary's weight heavier in his hands than it should have been. He flipped past pages he'd read, landing on October 11th today. Woke up wrong, like I'm not me. Mirror doesn't fit. His breath caught. He'd avoided his reflection that morning, a vague unease stopping him, though he couldn't say why. Another entry, October 12th, tomorrow. Spilled coffee, burned my hand, it laughed. He shook his head, closing the book, but later, unpacking, he knocked over his mug, hot coffee scalding his palm, a sharp pain that made him curse, then freeze, the diary's words ringing clear, no laughter, but the silence felt alive, mocking. That night, the dreams came again. Red eyes, a faceless shape whispering his name. Daniel, low and sure. He woke gasping. 3:14 a.m., the room too still, and checked the diary, hands shaking. October 13th. It's closer. It knows what I'll do. Fear coiled tight in his chest, not just from the words, but from how his thoughts felt. Fractured, like someone else's voice was creeping in, echoing his own. He stayed awake until dawn, watching the wall, feeling it watch back, a night bending, into echoes he couldn't silence. The diary's grip tightening with every moment he tried to pull away. Chapter 3. The Predictions. A cold October dusk in 2025 settled over the apartment, the city's hum fading into a quiet that felt too heavy, too watchful. Daniel stood by the window, curtains half drawn, the street lamp's flicker casting uneven shadows across the room, its buzz a faint pulse in the air. The diary sat on the kitchen table now, no longer hidden, its presence a weight he couldn't ignore, like a guest who wouldn't leave. Days had passed since he'd first read it, but its words were no longer just a stranger's madness. They were his reality, matching his life with a precision that chilled him. October 12th's coffee spill had been the start, then October 13th. Lost my keys, found them in the sink. And yesterday, he'd torn the apartment apart only to find them there, wet, impossible. Each entry felt like a script he was following, unaware, and the dreams, red eyes, that voice, Daniel, always Daniel, grew sharper, leaving him tired, frayed, less himself. He hadn't looked in a mirror since that morning he'd avoided it, afraid of what he'd see, afraid the diary's words were right. Mirror doesn't fit. He opened it again, October 15th today. Heard footsteps upstairs. No one's there. It's playing with me. Hours later, as he sat in silence, a faint thump came from above. Then another, steady, deliberate, though he knew the top floor was empty. His heart raced, but he didn't check, didn't dare, just stared at the ceiling, the diary open in his lap. Tomorrow, October 16th. Cut my finger. Blood on the page. It liked it. He shut the book, hands trembling, and hid it back in the wall, as if that could stop it. But the next day, slicing bread, his knife slipped, blood welling on his thumb. A drop falling onto a notebook he'd been using, not the diary, but close enough to make him gag, the air feeling thick, pleased. The dreams that night were worse. A faceless shape leaning close, its voice his own, saying, "You're mine." And he woke screaming, 2:47 a.m. His thoughts tangled, foreign, like someone else was thinking them. He checked the diary, October 17. I'm slipping. It's taking my place. Fear wasn't just fear anymore. It was certainty, a sense that he was fading, his mind merging with another's. The diary not just predicting, but shaping him. A night bending into predictions. He couldn't escape, pulling him deeper with every word he read, every step he took. Chapter 4. The Merging. A bleak October night in 2025 pressed against the apartment, the city outside a distant murmur under a sky too dark, too close. Daniel sat on the floor, back against the bedroom wall, the diary open in his hands, its pages. Yellowed, brittle, but alive with a weight that seemed to hum under his fingers. The street lamp's buzz had stopped, leaving a silence that felt wrong, expectant, and the room, boxes still unpacked, curtains sagging, looked unfamiliar, as if it belonged to someone else, someone he was becoming. The diary's predictions had grown sharper, more intimate, no longer just events, but his thoughts, his fears, his self-unraveling. October 18th. Forgot my mother's name, laughed it off, but it's gone. And yesterday, he'd frozen mid-thought, her name a blank, panic rising as he faked a chuckle, alone. October 19th. Today. Wrote a letter, not my words, burned it. And this morning, he'd found himself scribbling nonsense, phrases like, it sees, it takes, then torched the paper, shaking. The words not his, but familiar, pulled from the eye, diary's voice, its mind creeping into his. He barely slept now, the dreams too real. Red eyes, a faceless thing wearing his face, speaking his thoughts, Daniel blending into it until he couldn't tell where he ended and it began. He'd wait, gasping, checking the clock, always near 3 a.m., then the diary, each entry a mirror of his day, his mind. October 20th. Yelled at no one, room answered back. Tonight, he'd snapped, shouting into the dark, leave me alone. Only for a low hum to ripple through the walls, not sound but feeling, like laughter. His reflection scared him. He'd glanced in the bathroom mirror, seeing his face but wrong, eyes too wide, smile off, like a mask slipping. He avoided it now, avoided himself. But the diary's pull was stronger, its words his thoughts before he thought them, his fears before he felt them. He tried to stop reading, but his hands moved on their own, flipping pages. October 21st. I'm not me anymore, it's writing this. His skin crawled, thoughts fracturing. Whose fear was this? His or its? The line was blurring, his mind merging with the writer's, a night bending into a loss he couldn't stop. The diary claiming him with every word he read, every thought he couldn't trust. Chapter 5. The Blank Page. A cold October midnight in 2025 swallowed the apartment, the city outside silent, as if holding its breath for what came next. Daniel sat cross-legged on the bedroom floor, the diary open before him, its pages glowing, faintly under a bare bulb. Though he swore the light dimmed when he read, the room felt smaller, walls closer, air thicker, and he felt smaller too. Not just tired, but less, like pieces of him were draining away, siphoned into the book that knew him better than he knew himself. Days had bled together, each one a mirror of the diary's words. October 22nd. Dropped my phone, cracked it, it whispered, and he had, the screen splintered. A faint hum in his ears as he picked it up. October 23rd. Saw my name on the wall, scratched it out, and yesterday he'd found Daniel carved in the bathroom doorframe, clawing it away with bleeding nails, terrified it wasn't his doing. The dreams were constant now, red eyes, his own voice laughing, his face but not his, merging with the faceless thing until he woke unsure who he was, his thoughts a mix of his and another's, the writer's, the diaries, pulling him under. He flipped to October 24th today. Tried. To leave, door wouldn't open, it's here. This morning he'd packed a bag, desperate to flee. But the front door stuck, handle cold, unyielding, a low hum in the walls stopping him. He'd stayed, trembling, and now, past midnight, he reached the diary's final entry. No date, no words, just a blank page. Waiting, clean but heavy, like it demanded something. His heart pounded, a pen in his hand. He didn't remember grabbing it, and fear mixed with a strange calm, an urge to write, to fill the void. He pressed the pen. Down, ink, trembling, and words came, not his. "It's done, I'm gone, you're next." He froze, the handwriting jagged, like the diary's, not his own. But his hand had moved. His mind had blurred, another's thoughts spilling through him. He dropped the pen, gasping, the diary still open, the blank page now marked, claiming him. He stumbled to bed, head spinning, and dreamed of red eyes, his face, his name, all blending into nothing. Morning came, the diary gone, no trace, no panel, just walls, and on his table, a note. To the next tenant, from Daniel. A night bending into a blankness he couldn't escape. The diary's end taking him whole, leaving only his name behind. Chapter 6. The New Tenant. A crisp November morning in 2025 bathed the city in pale light, the apartment quiet but not empty, its air heavy with something left behind. The third-floor walk-up had a new tenant, Sarah, 29, a graphic designer chasing cheap rent and a fresh start, unaware of the weight the place carried. She stood in the bedroom, boxes at her feet, the walls bare but marked with faint scratches, the floor creaking under her steps, a sound that felt like a warning she didn't hear. The realtor had mentioned a quick turnover. Previous guy left suddenly, but gave no details, and Sarah didn't ask, focused on unpacking, on making the space hers. The radiator hummed, the street lamp outside buzzed faintly, and though the apartment seemed normal, peeling paint, drafty windows, it held a stillness that lingered, a hush that watched, waited, its secrets buried in the walls, in the air, in the light that never quite reached the corners. She set up her desk, hung a mirror, and moved on, oblivious to the faint hum beneath the floor, the diary's echo, now silent, but not gone, its story already reaching for her. Days passed, and Sarah settled in, but small things nagged. A lost key, a flickering bulb, dreams of red eyes she laughed off. One evening, unpacking, she found a folded note tucked under a loose floorboard, yellowed, edges frayed, addressed to the next tenant, from Daniel. She opened it, curious, reading, "It's in the walls, it knows you, don't read what you find." Her smile faded, a chill creeping up her spine, but she shook it off, tossing the note aside, telling herself it was a prank, a leftover from some troubled soul. That night, her sleep fractured, red eyes, a voice whispering Sarah, low and sure, and she woke 3:02 a.m., heart racing, the note still on her desk, its words louder in her mind. The next day, a panel in the bedroom wall caught her eye, loose, inviting, and though she hesitated, her fingers brushed it, feeling a pull, a hum, something waiting. She didn't open it, not yet, but the dreams grew. Her thoughts felt off, and the mirror showed a face not quite hers. The diary was gone, but its will remained, its mind now hers to claim, a cycle restarting. Every page you read, every dream you chase, it's there, merging with you, writing you, until you're its, leaving only a note for the next. A night bending into a story you can't stop, a name that's no longer yours.